So now let's dive deeper into the antarangas. The antarangas are dharana, concentration, dhyana, meditation, and samadhi, which is the ultimate union with the divine. Let's take an example where we're sitting in a classroom and trying to understand a very important concept that the teacher is trying to teach us. What happens if you start daydreaming in between? That's really bad, right? So, the chitta, which is essentially mana, buddhi, and ahankara, is a culmination of mind, intellect, and spiritual ego. What exactly the chitta does is takes the shape of every object that it becomes aware of. So, what we're trying to do in dharana is build the concentration of chitta onto a singular object. Patanjali in his Yoga Sutra defines dharana as desha bandha chittasya dharana. Desha is a region or an object, bandha is to bind, and what it literally means is to bind the chitta onto a singular object. This single pointed awareness is also known as ekagra chitta. So, in the practice of dharana, what we do is assign a particular object to all of our thoughts. So, you can concentrate and focus on a single thought for a very long amount of time. Equivalently, you trying to study a specific subject at a very same time. So, all you're doing is thinking about the same thing, and the chitta retains the shape of a singular object. And similarly, on practice, we build a conscious habit of being present in the moment and afterwards make it a physical practice of concentrating on a single object. Slowly, it moves from dharana to dhyana.
So, how does dharana work in leading to samadhi?
I will explain this with introducing the concept of trataka. After having pratyahara and asana practiced, a person can sit in a position and relax for a longer duration of time. When we give them an object to concentrate at eye level, and the person has to concentrate on the same object without blinking. Now, this is a task you might think it's easy, but it's genuinely not. So let me give you an example of a flower. Let's say it is a red color flower, it has 5 petals, and you're going to sit here and think about it for a longer duration of time. With this practice, it might be personal for everyone, but there are certain transits that we all will face. At a certain point, the eyes will water way too much and they will shut down. We are left with a mental image of the object, which is either more vivid and slowly it starts to fade away. At this point, we are left with an engulfing feeling of a singular sensation, sound, or color. At this point, you can notice that the dharana has culminated into dhyana. But unlike the modern concepts of meditation that we see all the time on the internet, dharana is more of a singular pointed idea. So instead of not having any thoughts, we are concentrating the mind onto a singular object and moving beyond consciousness.
Okay. Now coming on to the next limb in the eightfold path, that is dhyana. Sage Patanjali defines dhyana as tatra pratyekatanata dhyanam. Now if we try to understand this verse by breaking down its meaning, it goes something like this. The first word tatra, it means in that place. It refers to the place or the mental territory within which our mind is confined. The next word, that is pratyeka, means when our mind is in continuous contact with the object of meditation. And the word ekatanata means something which is uninterrupted. Hence, the uninterrupted flow of mind towards the object of meditation is dhyana. Now, in the previous stage, that is dharana, our mind was able to focus on an object, but that focus was not uninterrupted. There were fluctuations of thoughts in our minds, or what we call kleshas. But when we are able to concentrate for a longer period of time without any distractions, it is then when dharana culminates into dhyana. And this transition from dharana to dhyan is almost seamless.
So how do you differentiate between the two stages?
So, the major difference between dharana and dhyan is in the amount of effort required and the duration. So, in dharana, you require more effort for your mind to concentrate and avoid the flow of thoughts or distractions. But in the stage of dhyana, it comes naturally to the person with practice over time. Coming on to the duration. So, the stage of dharana is very short as compared to the stage of dhyana. This is because in the stage of dharana, our mind is continuously affected with thoughts and distractions. If we try to explain this scientifically, we can say this. that when our mind is active, beta waves are generated in it, and when our mind is calm and focused, it is then when alpha waves are generated. So, in the stage of dharana, alpha waves are generated, but for a very short period. But in the stage of dhyana, alpha waves are generated for a longer period of time. So, the concentration in dhyana is uninterrupted, just like when you pour oil into a container. It is a continuous chain and there are no breaks in between.
So, why is this stage really important?
So, since the attainment of this stage only can lead to samadhi, it is important for there to be continuity in the movement of mind. And when there are breaks, it implies that there are distractions. In dhyana, as our mind becomes stronger and stronger to hold on to one thought, the distractions become smaller and smaller. So, what we can say is that continuity can be regarded as an instrument to measure the control over our mind and the intensity of concentration. So, this is what the stage of dhyana is.